Daf Yomi Tractate Bava Batra, page 175b. Top of the page with the words Hotzi Alav. Hotzi Alav. Okay, we are in the middle of a Mishnah. We started at the last line of the previous Amud, so let's start from there. The very bottom of 175a. The Mishnah. Malves Chavera Bishtar Go Menachas Mishubadim. Av Al Yedei Edim Goyvim Menachas Menachorim. The Mishnah says one who lends money to another by means of a promissory note can collect the debt from lien property that had been sold to others by the debtor after the loan was granted. One who lends money by means of witnesses without recording the loan in a promissory note can collect the debt only from unsold property. Now we're in the top of 175b. Continue the Mishnah. If one presents to a debtor a document in the handwriting of the debtor stating that he owes money to him, but without witnesses signed on the document, the creditor can collect only from unsold property. In the case of a guarantor whose commitment emerged after the signing of the promissory note, the creditor can collect the sum only from unsold property of the guarantor. Maise uva lifnei Rabbi Yishmael ve'omar goy v'nichos v'nichoyrin. Amaloi ben nanas einoi goy ve'lo v'nichos mishubadim v'lo v'nichos v'nichoyrin. The Mishnah relates an incident occurred where such a case came before Rabbi Yishmael, and he said the creditor can collect the sum from unsold property of the guarantor, but not from liened property that he has sold to others. Ben Nanas said to Rabbi Yishmael, the creditor cannot collect the sum from the guarantor at all, not from liened property that has been sold, nor from unsold property. Amar Loi Lama. Rabbi Yishmael said to him, why not? Amar Loi Arechoinik Es Echad Bashuk Motzech Ve'arem Amar Heniach Loi V'ani Etenach Batra Shelo Alamunas Helo Ela Ezehu V'ayvishtu Chayev Alveu V'ani Nasanach Chayev Shekain Alamunas Helo. So Rabbi Yishmael said to him, why? Why can't it be from why can't you collect from the guarantor for either lien property or unsold property? So Benana said to him, if one was strangling someone in the marketplace, demanding a repayment of a loan, and another person found him doing so and said to the attacker, leave him alone, and I will give you the money he owes, the person who intervened is exempt from paying, as the creditor did not loan the money in the first place, based on his trust of the one who intervened. Rather, who is the guarantor? Who is obligated to repay the loan he has guaranteed? One who tells the creditor before the loan takes place, lend money to him and I will give you the payment. As in that case, the creditor did loan the money based on his trust of the guarantor. V'amar Rabbi Yishmael, haroitz sheyachkim yasek b'dinim mamonis, she'en lach mekzoa v'toyer yoyser mehen, v'hen k'ma'ayan hanovea, v'haroitz sheyasek b'dinim mamonis yishamesh es Shimon ben Nanas. Rabbi Yishmael thereupon said, one who wants to become wise should engage in the study of monetary law, as there is no greater discipline in the Torah, and it is like a flowing spring. And he added, one who wants to engage in the study of monetary law should attend to, meaning should become a disciple of Shimon ben Anas. And that's the Mishnah. The Gemara says, Amar Ula, Dvar Toire, Echad Milu B'Shtar, Echad Milu V'Alpeh, Goy B'Nechas Mishubadim, my time. Shibuda de Raisa ve'elama tam amru mil ve'alpeh ein gaiva in an achas v'nechayrim b'shum pseida telekoiches. The Gemara says that Ula says by Torah law, a creditor, whether in the case of a loan with a promissory note or in the case of a loan by an oral contract, can collect the debt from lien property that has been sold by the debtor subsequent to his receiving the loan. What is the reason for this? The property of a debtor at the time of the loan, even an oral loan, is liened by Torah law. And what is the reason the sages said that one who gives a loan by oral contract can collect the debt only from unsold property? Because of the loss that would be incurred by purchasers of land if the seller's creditors could seize the land they have purchased. The Gemara asks, if so, a loan with a promissory note should also not be collected from purchasers of property, as this would cause them a loss. The Gemara answers, there in the case of a loan recorded in a promissory note, the purchasers who neglected to investigate the financial status of the seller before purchasing the land from him brought the loss upon themselves. By contrast, loans by oral contract are often impossible to discover even with a thorough investigation. The Rabba Amar Devar Toire Echad Milva Bishtav Echad Milva Alpeh and the Goyvel Minachos Minichol My time Sheubada La De Raiso Ubatzam Umil Bishtav Goyvel Minachos Minishwadim כדי שלא תינול דרס בפני לא הבין. And Rava says by Torah law, creditor, whether in the case of a loan with a promissory note or nor the case of a loan by oral contract, can collect the debt only from the debtor's unsold property. What is the reason for this? The property of a debtor is not liened by Torah law. And what is the reason? The sages said that one who gives a loan with a promissory note can collect the debt from lien property that has been sold so as not to lock the door in the face of potential borrowers. If one could not collect a debt by taking lien property that has been sold, people would be hesitant to put their money at risk by lending it. The Gemara asks if that is so, that there is a desire to encourage people to lend money by granting greater power of collection to creditors, a loan by oral contract should also be collectible from lien property that has been sold. The Gemara answers there, in the case of a loan by oral contract, it has no publicity associated with it, so the purchasers often cannot find out about it even after a thorough investigation, and it would be an unfair burden on them to have the property purchased by them and seized in such case. The Gemara asks, and did Rabba really say this? But doesn't Rabba say in the case of a firstborn son that if he and his brothers collected a debt from land, he has the right to receive a double portion of that payment? But if they collected a debt from money, he does not have the right to collect a double portion. A firstborn son is entitled to a double share of inheritance of any property that was owned by his father at the time of his death, but not to profits or income that accrue to the estate after his death. If a debt owed to the father is collected from land after his death, Rabba said that the firstborn is entitled to a double portion, indicating that the land was considered in the father's possession even before he died, which indicates that Rabba holds that the property of a debtor is liened to a creditor by Torah law. V'chi tema efuch. The Rabba ula the Rabba v'hamar ula dvar Torah b'alchayv zedinim b'zibulihis. And if you would say the opinions as they were cited earlier are attributed incorrectly, and it is necessary to reverse the two opinions and exchange the opinion of Rabba for that of Ula and Ula for that of Rabba, there is a difficulty. There is a difficulty. But doesn't Ula say elsewhere, by Torah law, the halacha of a creditor is to collect his debt only from inferior quality land? Amaraba Taima de Bene Marova Komar, the less lay spherele. The Gemara resolves that the contradiction between Rav and Shuzayut, whereat the Rav was stating an explanation for the opinion of the people in the West, in Eretz Israel, said it earlier in 125a, but he himself does not hold accordingly, as he holds that a firstborn son is not entitled to a double portion of a debt collected from land. Rav Shmuel Damri Tavayu Milva al Peh Eno Government Lo Min Ha Yorshin Velo Min Ha Lekayches. My time. Shibuda Lav the Rights. The Gemara continues to discuss the issue of the extent of liens on a debtor's property. Rav and Shmuel both say in the case of a loan by oral contract, the creditor can collect the debt only from the one who took the loan, but not from the heirs of the debtor after his death, and not from purchasers of his property. What is the reason for this? They maintain that the property of debtor is not liened by Torah law. Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Shimon Lakish. The words of Vayimakim of Govim in Yoshin. Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shimon Lakish both say in the case of a loan by oral contract, the creditor can collect the debt both from the heirs of the debtor after his death and from the purchasers of his property. What is the reason for this? They maintain that the property of a debtor is liened by Torah law. Meisvei, the Gemara raises an objection. The Gemara raises an objection to the opinion of Rav and Shmuel from Brayta in Tosefta, public comment 6.2. If one was digging a pit in the public domain and the ox fell on him and killed him as he was in the pit, the owner of the ox is exempt from paying the damage caused, as it is the one who dug the pit it was at fault. Moreover, if it occurred that the ox died as a result of the fall, the heirs of the owner of the pit are liable to pay the value of the ox to its owner. Compensation for damages is comparable to a loan by oral contract, and yet the Brayta states that the heirs of the culpable party must pay it. Amar Rav Ila, Amar Rav Bishamad Badin. Rav Ila says that Rav says the Brayta is discussing a case in which the one who dug the pit stood trial for the damage before he died, and once judgment is rendered by a court, the resulting financial liability is comparable to a loan with a promissory note. Vaha Hargoi Katani Amar Rav Adabar so Trefal. The Gemara objects, but it is taught in the Brayta that the ox killed him by falling on him. How then can one say that he stood trial? Ra'ala says the Brayta does not mean that the ox killed him instantly, but that it rendered him one who has a wound that will cause him to die within 12 months, which is a treifa. There was enough time before his death to try him and deem him liable to pay for damages. Rav Nachman, Tana, Meis, Ukvare, Hasam, Diasvi, Dayane, Diasvi, Dayane Apuma, Devera, Vichaya, Vohu. The Gemara objects that there is a different version of the Brayta according to which this interpretation is not possible, but doesn't Rav Nachman say that a certain Tana taught the Brayta with a different formulation, stating that the one who the pit died, and from the impact of the ox, and the ox in effect buried him in the ground at the bottom of the pit. In this scenario, it would be impossible to take the one who dug the pit to court to stand trial. The Gemara answers there according to that second version. It is discussing a case where judges sat at the opening of the pit and deemed liable the one who dug the pit to pay for the damage before he died.